Hello everyone. I'm sure a lot of you out there have wanted to draw and worried that you couldn't even draw a straight line, let alone a crooked one that went in one direction. Well, drawing isn't as difficult as people lead you to believe. The fact is, most things that are drawn are a compilation or a combination of a lot of really simple shapes. Also, when you draw things on a flat piece of paper, but you want to make them look three-dimensional, just using a few different lines can give you the impression that when you're looking at a flat surface like this, you can actually look into it. So start off teaching you how to draw. We're going to work primarily with straight lines, and we're going to draw boxes because boxes are three-dimensional. Now there are three methods you can draw boxes. First, you can use a single point perspective, which is here. You can use a two-point perspective. You can even use a three-point perspective. A one-point perspective is similar to walking down a hall. When you're walking down a really long hall and you kind of look at your peripheral vision, which is your side vision, you notice how big the wall is or how big the opening is. But when you look really far down, it looks like the opening is becoming smaller and smaller. And if the hallway were extremely long, let's say exaggerate like a mile, it'd look almost like a pin way at the end. And that's what this is. This is one-point perspective. The straight line you see here is called the horizon. So if you're outside and you're on a street or you're driving, you look far off. This would be the horizon, where the earth meets the sky. So a single point would be your point of perspective. In this particular case, instead of looking straight at the front of a box, you're looking at the corner and you're seeing the two sides. This could be a building, could be anything. In this case, you're kind of looking down and the features are all exaggerated, and that is a three-point perspective. So what we're going to start with is a one-point perspective of a box. So the front of a box will just be a rectangle, unless you have kind of a cube, which would make it square. In this case, these two sides are equal, as are the top and the bottom. Here is our single point perspective off in the distance. If this box were extremely long, it would go all the way to where your side disappears on the horizon. But we don't want to make it that long. So in this particular case, I cut the box off here. Of course, when I cut it off here, to look inside the box, you can see the inside corner on both sides. When I erase the lines I don't need, you see that I have a box that you can look into. To find the center of anything, use diagonal lines from the opposing corners. Wherever it meets, or these two meet, that is the center. Now when you're looking straight at a box, that's pretty easy. You draw a straight line up and you find the center of the line here. All boxes have flaps, because otherwise how can you pack anything to ship it? But to make the flaps are this wide when you take a look at them from the front. When you draw a circle like this and a semicircle like here, this shows you wherever the flap might be, whether it's partially open or all the way open. So you draw a straight line from the corner of where the flap would begin on the box to the outside edge of this semicircle, and you do the same here. Notice that this flap is open further than this one. You then draw a line to the vanishing point from the corner where it ends. And when you erase the lines you don't need, you start to see you have a flap beginning here and a flap here. The key is, you have to end the flap. Flap doesn't go all the way to the end of the vanishing point. So whatever line you have here that you started with, you make a parallel line to cut it off at the back, and that makes this particular flap. When you do the same here, you have two flaps. But if you've ever seen corrugated boxes of any sort, you don't have just two flaps, you've actually got four. There's one that will be on the front, and one that will be at the back. They work the same way. You use this particular point, the corner, and you draw a circle here, and you do the same for the far one. So anywhere on this circle is where the flap would be. Here's what's important to remember. You see the vanishing point and the line I drew here, and the vanishing point here. This distance is the same as this distance. When I go from here all the way back, and I do this the same here all the way back, these circles will be identical in size if you are looking at it this way. But you're not, you're looking at it in depth. So the flap for the front and the flap for the back will have to be somewhere on those circles. Here I put a flap downward here to the edge, and here I put one slightly up. Then I draw a horizontal line across because I want to finish the flap. Now the key here is when I've erased it, you see it, you kind of wonder, well, how am I going to end this one and that one? Well, what you do is you keep in mind that whatever distance you have here would have to be the same here. And if you draw a straight line up here, whatever line is here, you do the same here, and you get this. So now you have a box that is open that has 1, 2, 3, 4 flaps. When you shade it, it makes it more realistic. In this particular case, I use the side of the pencil graphite to make the shading, to make it look like a real three-dimensional picture of a box in one-point perspective.